you and I are forced to absorb. It's quite obvious the Justice Department under President Obama has little interest in holding Hillary Clinton to account, and every thinking person knows that. But even though the Democratic machine caught a break today, there's still WikiLeaks, which continues to torment the Clinton campaign. Apparently, Doug Band, who helped run the Clinton Foundation, was very concerned that Chelsea Clinton was using foundation assets for, quote, her wedding and life for a decade, unquote. Band stated that in an email to John Podesta, which also said, quote, I hope you will speak to her and end this. We really don't know who her is, Hillary or Chelsea, but either way, it's clear the Clinton Foundation money was being used for personal advantage for all three Clintons. Now, whether that's important to you, the voter, remains to be seen. But it is important to talking points. Every time the Clinton Foundation comes up, the Clinton people say this.
As you know, the foundation does great work around the world in the distribution of AIDS drugs here in the United States, the distribution of drugs to battle opioid addiction.
Well, that's the mantra, that the foundation does a lot of good, and it does. But that's not the point. And charity foundations are supposed to be for charity, not individual gain. So once again, Hillary Clinton has a dubious situation on her resume. And here's another one. On Friday, the rapper Jay-Z appeared at a Clinton rally in Cleveland. Now, that's the difference between traditional America and progressive America. Jay-Z, a former drug pusher, celebrates and cashes in on depravity. And apparently Hillary Clinton is fine with it, using the rapper to stimulate votes in the minority community. Donald Trump quickly hopped on it.
He used every word in the book. I won't even use the initials because I'll get in trouble. They'll get me in trouble. He used language last night that was so bad. And then Hillary said, I did not like Donald Trump's lewd language. My lewd language. I tell you what, I've never said what he said in my life.
So with 48 hours left before the media starts calling states, the campaign is as intense as ever. Tuesday cannot come fast enough. And that's the memo. Now for the top story, some polling out today. NBC News has Clinton up by 4. Investors Business Daily has Trump up by 1. LA Times tracking poll, Trump by 5. ABC News tracking poll, Clinton by 5. Florida CBS News has it a dead heat tie. Clinton 45, Trump 45. Ohio CBS has Trump up by 1. But the Columbus Dispatch has Clinton up by 1. And in Michigan, a Fox 2 Detroit poll has Clinton up by 5. This now here in New York City, Patrick Murray, director of Monmouth Polling, and David Morris, deputy managing editor of the Kipling Letter. Ms. Morris, begin with you. Trump is speaking at this moment in, Michigan, which is unusual because, usually you see that state. We're going to talk to Sarah Palin, who's in Michigan tonight, about that in a moment. Now, Trump is basically saying that the second Comey letter is rigged. And so if you want justice, you have to vote for him and get her out of the picture. That's not a bad retort. I don't know if it's rigged or not. I doubt it. But to turn it around and try to use it for him, I think that's fairly clever.
He has to do that, Bill. He's in a bind. He's behind nationally. He has to find some way to make the undecideds, the few that are out there, come to his side. But you know what? I think it's already baked in. People who care about the emails have already decided, and it's not going to make a difference at the end of the day.
I hate the end of the day phrase because there's a day and a half left before people go to vote. 2.5, just 2 points is real clear politics separating Clinton, and that's within a margin of error. Now, you're a pollster. So I'm seeing Trump outwork Hillary Clinton. Trump does, 6 events today, and Hillary did 2. So I don't think it's over by any means.
Yeah, I think, well, as you said in the memo, the key thing here is if there's an indictment, that might change people's opinions about this debate. Yeah, right.
Okay.
So this is about getting people out to vote. This is why Donald Trump is working his backside off, going to some key
if you
states.
want justice, you have to vote for me because you're not going to get justice.
It's
from
getting
that.
those people out to the polls, because I think what we're seeing in the polling numbers right now is that Hillary Clinton has a slight lead. It's kind of it's gone up and down, but a lot of that has to do with enthusiasm and relative enthusiasm that doesn't necessarily say who's going to get to the polls. So it's getting out there, getting to those key states, working to.
So you
to
think
change
Trump's
the-
smart to kill himself on the road? Do you think
He's got to. He's got no choice, and he's got to go to some of these states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, because he's got to flip one of those states based on what we're seeing in all the polling. I mean, you mentioned Florida's close, North Carolina's close, Ohio. He's got a bit of a lead in. Some of the things that we've seen in these key states like Florida and Ohio, North Carolina, the polls over the past 2.5 weeks have moved in his direction.
Yep.
Michigan hasn't moved in his direction, but he's got to get a state like that.
But it's only 5. He's only down by 5.
But all those polls have been
Are
pretty
you going to
consistent.
have a new poll soon?
We're going to have a national poll tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
We're gonna
Do you know what it
get
is?
No, we haven't finished interviewing. We're just finishing just tonight. We're going to
Okay.
finish interviewing, but we'll see what happens
All
tomorrow.
right. Now, do you concur that Trump could win this race, Mr. Morris?
Well, he can, but it's an awfully steep climb for him. There are 7 states that I think matter in this election, and Trump has to win all 7 of them to
Well, tell us
to
what
beat
they are.
Hillary Clinton. It's Florida, of
Florida,
course.
we don't know. Dead heat.
Dead heat.
Right.
Ohio, I think Trump is going to win.
Okay.
Iowa, I think Trump is going to win. Arizona, Trump is going to win.
Right.
New Hampshire, he can win. Maybe it could go either way.
Right.
And it comes down then to North Carolina, where it's tight. He can pull that one off. Nevada, I don't see how he wins Nevada.
Really?
No Nevada, no President Trump.
Okay, because Nevada, the latest polling has gone in his favor, and he worked northern Nevada very hard, the Reno area. We're going to have the governor of North Carolina on, by the way, in a few segments from now, because I agree with you. North Carolina at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night might be called. If it's called for Hillary Clinton, everybody can go to sleep.
Right.
All right?
Yeah, that's
that's crazy,
absolutely true.
but that's
I don't
the
think
way
it'll
it
be
is.
called that early, but there's so much early vote coming into
Yeah.
North Carolina. We might know pretty soon. I think, but if it's not called early, or he wins North Carolina, if he wins Florida, we might be hanging on New Hampshire, which is the one state where we actually have seen polling that has been very volatile just in the last 5 days alone.
But Kelly Ayotte, the senator there, incumbent senator Republican, has now pulled ahead
Right.
by the WBUR poll, which is the poll up there.
Right.
The Boston University Public Broadcasting Statement. So, look, it's hard. Anything can happen. But what I'm seeing is I think the momentum now for Trump has slowed. Would you say that it's slowed?
Maybe even stopped. I mean, let's see what your poll shows tomorrow, and let's see what the tracking
Fox poll
polls
had 2.
show.
That's a dead
Right.
heat with a
Correct.
margin of
Yeah,
error.
I don't think. Yeah, it's not a question of momentum anymore. It is a question of getting out that vote.
At that vote. Okay, so where we are probably going into Tuesday, and it's Sunday night, we'll have a special report on tomorrow too. Where we are is a 2-point lead by Hillary Clinton, but that can evaporate in a whisper if people don't show up to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Right, and I think, we're talking about Michigan. The state that probably matters the most in is Pennsylvania, which is a state that does not have early voting. So if people change their minds about how they're going to come out to vote, particularly in those rural areas versus in Philadelphia,
Well,
that'll
Philly,
change.
the minority in Philly has to come out. They have to
Right,
come
and they
out.
have a transit strike in Philadelphia right now, so that could make it hard to get
Really?
out to vote.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
The transit strike?
Yeah, so that's really up in the air.
That's
All
a
right.
Democratic union, and it could very easily
change
be
their mind
no
on Monday
strike
night,
tomorrow.
right?
Can't get to the poll. All right, gentlemen, thanks very much. We appreciate it. And next on the rundown, we'll talk with Sarah Palin, who's up in Michigan. We haven't seen her for a while. How does the governor see the upcoming vote? And she'll look back on her experience. And we'll be right back with Governor Palin.
Right now, she is being protected by a rigged system. It's a totally rigged system. I've been saying it for a long time. You can't review 650,000 new emails in 8 days. You can't do it, folks. Hillary Clinton is guilty. She knows it. The FBI knows it. The people know it. And now it's up to the American people to deliver justice at the ballot box on November 8th.
Donald Trump speaking in Michigan this evening. He just wrapped up a few minutes ago. In a personal story segment tonight, we're pleased to have Sarah Palin, who, as everybody knows, ran for vice president in 2008 on a McCain ticket. And she also is in Michigan, Detroit, where she's working for Donald Trump. So do you have a prediction for us on Tuesday, Governor?
Well, if Trump wins, then America wins. And, I heard you speaking with the guests a little bit earlier, asking if the Trump momentum had stopped. And I'm thinking, you're not in Michigan then, because they are hot, hot, hot for Trump. And they here, desiring so much to be that comeback state, they understand that it's someone from the private sector who needs to get in there and shrink government and allow industry to really get revved up again. That's what these Michigan folks are looking for.
Well, the polls say Clinton's up by 5, but he's given it a big shot. And remember, I remember interviewing you 8 years ago, and you wanted to campaign in Michigan, but the McCain people said you could not. And of course, the state went to Barack Obama. Do you feel, and are you willing to make a prediction, that Trump will carry Michigan this time around?
There's no reason why he wouldn't. There are these Reagan Democrats here, these blue-collar, hard-working Americans. Maybe they're registered Democrat, but they so want that positive change for their businesses, for that industry to be ushered in. And, you know, speaking to people all day today, there is so much enthusiasm for that positive change. So, you know, the polls, like I've said before, Bill, polls are only good for strippers and cross-country skiers. What matters, of course, is 2 days from now, the getting out the vote effort, making sure these Reagan Democrats and independent Michigan folks and Republicans
Are you going to
get out
stay
there
in
and
Michigan?
cast their vote.
Are you going to stay in Michigan to get out the vote there? Is that your assignment?
I think my assignment is I move to another locale tomorrow for a couple of events, and I don't know all that inside baseball stuff. As
Well, you gotta know where you're
about
going.
how the campaigns work. No, Bill,
No?
believe it or not, you don't know where you're going
All right.
sometimes. You go
Where they suggest you go. Well, all right, you're a good you're a
where
good
they
soldier
suggest,
for
yeah.
them.
Or you go rogue.
Now think back 2 years ago, 48 hours before the vote. Did you think you and Senator McCain were going to win?
Well, I did, because I'm always optimistic, but I remember 2 days out because I was sneaking phone calls out to conservative media markets, to you, to Hannity, because, you know, some of the campaign folks were thinking that we needed to really concentrate on trying to shore up some of a liberal vote, bring it on in, and we hadn't spoken a whole lot to conservative outlets. And I remember sneaking phone calls to you guys from a bus.
I don't really. I'm trying to think. We had you on a number of times on, you know, it's like this, a straight interview, a play. I don't know whether I do remember a phone call. You called me like 3 in the morning or something.
Probably.
to wake me up.
Get your butt up and work.
But this one with Trump, he's running a little bit ahead of what you guys were running, but he's still behind. You know, according to polls. Are you saying you don't believe the polls? You don't think they're accurate? And if so, why?
Well, it depends on who the pollster is, of course.
But
and
we're
the
doing the average. The average is about 2%.
Well, yeah, no. I just don't put a whole lot of faith in polls, and especially 2 days out. So many things change, you know. And historically, we have seen great changes take place in a lot of elections at the last minute. And no, I think people are so ready for change that they know that to fix the corruption that is so rampant in our federal government, you don't elect those who did the corrupting. And we have such a clear choice in this election: someone who's been part of the problem, or someone who is bound and determined to work with us to fix the problem.
Do you know Hillary Clinton well? Have you spoken with her?
I have spoken with her husband. I have not spoken with Hillary.
You have never spoken to Hillary Clinton?
I think I've ever met her.
No?
I think I'd remember it if I did.
Okay. The gender gap is going toward her on the female side, the male side overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. Why?
Well, I would hope that women aren't buying into that shtick that's going on right now, a little bit of that, hey, vote for me just because I'm a gal. And, you know, we've learned before to not base a vote based on, you know, gender or any kind of difference, but really on what that person stands for. And, no, I think the women of America, they, too, are wanting a cleaned-up government just as much as the men are. Gender isn't an issue.
Again, the polling doesn't show that. If Hillary Clinton doesn't win the women by 55%, do you admire the fact that Hillary Clinton is running for president at all? Do you have any admiration for her?
I have admiration for anyone who has that tenacity, that drive to get out there and offer themselves up in the name of service to the American people. But no, not when it comes to Hillary specifically, no.
Do you think she's a corrupt woman?
Yeah, in a lot of ways she is.
So you agree with Donald Trump when he says crooked Hillary and she should be in jail, and you agree with all that, that she isn't an honest individual?
You know, two days out, Bill, I am not here to indict Hillary Clinton. She's going to do that herself. And I believe that many more things that will come to light, people are going to realize that, no, she shouldn't be our leader.
So you believe that come Election Day, only 2 days away, that light bulbs are going to go off and Trump's going to win big? Do you think he's going to win big?
I think he is, and I think America's going to win right along with him. He's going to allow us to make America great again.
All right, Governor, we appreciate you taking the time. We know you're busy tonight. Thank you. Directly ahead, if Trump wins North Carolina, he has a very legitimate shot to become president. We'll talk with the governor of that state in just a few moments. Campaign 2016 segment tonight, North Carolina. It's a must-win state for Donald Trump. Right now, latest polls are split. Trump leading by 5 in the Trafalgar poll, 7 in the WRAL-TV poll. But Quinnipiac has Secretary Clinton up by 3, as does CBS News. Also, North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory is locked in a tight race with Democrat Roy Cooper. Governor McCrory joins us now from Raleigh. So, polls are split. WRAL-TV poll, pretty good poll, if my memory serves me. How do you see it coming down, Governor?
I think everything's dead even in North Carolina, and it's going to be all dependent upon who gets the vote out. I do believe in North Carolina, I have a prediction that there is a silent majority in North Carolina. I've been hearing it for months in my campaign and Donald Trump's campaign and in Richard Burr's campaign, where there's almost this intimidation from the far left for people not to want to say who they're for, whether it be McCrory or Trump or Burr. And so a lot of people, I think, are kind of going, I'm with you. I'm with you. That whispering silent majority, and the turnout model so far is showing that our turnout's big right now in North Carolina in early voting, and especially among independent voter and especially among Republican voters, while Democrat votes are down in North Carolina in comparison to President Obama's 2012. So there doesn't seem to be the passion for Hillary Clinton as the Democrats had for Barack Obama. And I think there's Clinton fatigue. It's almost like when she speaks, we're going back to the 90s again and reliving the 90s. And I think people don't want to relive the 90s with Hillary Clinton.
If Charlotte was taken out of the equation, you would win easily, and probably Donald Trump would win easily. Charlotte, that colossus, is a liberal town, a big, heavy minority vote. So that's where it's locked in right there for Hillary Clinton, correct?
No, actually, I'm doing pretty well in Charlotte. I was mayor of Charlotte for 14 years. In the Charlotte TV region, we're doing actually very well. I think the biggest area, toughest area for myself and Richard Burr and Donald Trump is in the Raleigh-Durham Triangle area, where there are a lot of universities.
Where
and the
you
universities
are now.
tend to be.
But I'm
right.
surprised.
In fact, today I was in Chapel Hill, and someone waved to me with one finger instead of 5, and they meant it.
Okay. Well, we know that the urban areas almost all across the country are more liberal. But, you know, you had the riots in Charlotte. You had the trouble there. There's a lot of outside money, I understand, coming in to those areas to get Hillary Clinton and your opponent elected. Is that true, first of all, a lot of outside money coming into North Carolina?
Absolutely. A lot of Soros money, a lot of California money coming to Charlotte, the metro areas. But we're seeing a silent majority come out to vote. The statistics are showing in early voting, and if it's even or we're slightly even behind in early voting, I think we're all going to win it. So I'd make the prediction for the Republican ticket in North Carolina, which
now,
most people don't realize we're the 9th most populous state in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it's
most people don't realize that.
And a huge demographic change in the state because a lot of Northerners have come down. You know, North Carolina's a nice place to live. Your polls close at 8 Eastern time?
Yeah, 7, I believe. But we've had early voting. We have some of the most liberal early voting rules in the United States, and yet the president came down and criticized North Carolina. And I think he was trying to get the vote out. But in fact, it's in New York, where Hillary Clinton lives, where they do not have the early voting or same-day registration like North Carolina has. So we've had very large early voting.
And so you close at 7. That means by 7:30, it's possible that state may be called. Your state may be called.
I doubt that very much. I think early voting, we've never had a called election. I ran in 2008 and lost the closest governor's election in the United States. In 2012, I won by 11 points, and no one's ever called an election that early. I anticipate it going very late in North Carolina, and again, it's going to be dependent upon who votes and who gets the vote out. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
When you won
and
so
I
big,
see some enthusiasm here.
Why do you think you aren't as dominant in 2016 as you were in 2012? What's changed?
Money coming into this state. I've been outspent 2-to-1 mainly by Soros money and left-wing money. I'm the incumbent governor. I've probably been outspent almost 2-to-1. So the negative ads are absolutely incredible.
Did that have to do
all
with the
Republicans of this state.
transgendered bathroom situation? Do you think that's
Some of it was, but it's kind of, most people in the nation don't know it was the left that brought that issue to North Carolina, not the right. So that's what's even more ironic. They brought that controversial issue to try to deter or defer the attention away from, when I came into office, we had a 9.4% unemployment rate. Now we're 4.7%. We lowered corporate tax. We lowered income tax. We gave teacher pay raises. They had to defer the attention to other things, and that's what the left has attempted to do.
All right, Governor. We appreciate you coming on today. North Carolina, as stated, is probably the most important state, along with Florida and Ohio, for the presidential election. Good luck, Governor. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Plenty more ahead as a factor moves along this Sunday evening. We'll talk with the governor of Colorado, another tight state that Donald Trump needs to win. And later, Bernie Goldberg might have a prediction for us, and if he does not, we'll make fun of him. We hope you stay tuned for those reports. Continuing now with the Sunday edition of The Factor, just 48 hours before we begin calling states for either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. Joining us now from Denver, the governor of Colorado, John Hickenlooper. So your state has Secretary Clinton ahead by about 3 points, according to the Real Clear average. Why so close?
Well, we're still a purple state. I mean, we're almost exactly the same. Republicans and Democrats are more unaffiliated voters, actually, than there are either Republicans or Democrats. So even though Hillary was ahead by 8 or 9 points a couple months ago, everyone knew and expected, I think, it would tighten up a little bit.
What about the Johnson factor, the Libertarian candidate, Governor Johnson? He's a big legalized pot guy. You have legal marijuana there. Will he perform better in Colorado? And the other states, it shows when he declines, Trump picks up. So Trump is a beneficiary of his decline, and Hillary, when he does well, Johnson, takes it on the chin a little bit. How do you see Johnson?
Well, as close as I could tell out here, he's really taking almost evenly from both the Clinton campaign and the Trump campaign. If anything, maybe a little more from Trump. But he doesn't seem to have a whole lot of traction here either, to be honest.
No, he's not doing that well. I saw one poll where he was up around 9 or 10, but you don't see that?
I don't think it's still up that high.
No. Now, I worked in Denver at Channel 7 36 years ago.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I was a different state then. I was a far, far different state, much more traditional conservative, much more Western. Now, so many people have come there from other states and from Mexico. There's a lot of Hispanics that have moved into Denver, into that area because of so much work. What effect has the Hispanic vote had on the state?
Well, I think an awful lot, Colorado is a Spanish word. It's we've always had a large Hispanic population here. Certainly as we diversified the economies, going back into the mid-1980s, I came out here as a geologist in the beginning, and then the price of oil collapsed, and there was a real conscious effort to diversify the economy into aerospace and advanced manufacturing and technology. And as that's happened, people have moved in from all parts of the country at all levels. And if you actually look at the percentages in terms of in-migration, the Hispanic immigration has been a relatively small percent. I think it's still, I'm sure it helps Hillary Clinton just because Donald Trump has attacked Hispanics so frequently, but generally speaking, it shouldn't be that big a role in the.
You don't see it'll be interesting to see the demographic vote for Hispanics in Colorado. Now, Trump spent some time in Colorado. Hillary Clinton, not so much. Clinton's been there, I think, once or twice, but Trump's been there like 10 times. Will that matter?
No, I don't think so. I think, Donald Trump's been trying to rebuild, especially after the video came out with his comments about, assaulting that woman. That's been a hard thing for him to recover because Colorado, both Democrats and Republicans and unaffiliated, are very kind of family value oriented. And, he spent a lot of time out here kind of making up lost ground there, I think.
But it worked to some extent because even as you've acknowledged in this interview, he was ahead by 10. Now it's 2 or 3. So I don't know whether his personal appearances are working. I wanted to get that vantage point from you. Hillary Clinton does not seem to be, and forgive me if I'm being presumptuous here, a Colorado type gal. I mean, you guys are all about the outdoors. I agree with you that the family is the center of the state. You have the university towns like Boulder, which are going to be progressive left, and Aspen and those enclaves. But the real folks who are out there are traditional folks, and Hillary Clinton strikes me as a machine politician. And I'm not sure. See, I think if Trump takes Colorado, that he wins the presidency. If he can do Nevada and Colorado out there and then sweep the states he needs back here, he wins. And I think he's got a shot in Colorado. Would you say he does not?
I'd say he's got a steep hill to climb. And I think, Colorado is a traditional state, but it's also a place that's very collaborative. People work together. If you go back to upstate New York and talk to some of the Republicans up there after they worked with Hillary Clinton while she was a senator, remember, she barely won her U.S. Senate seat when she first ran. But then when she ran for re-election, she won by almost a 2/3 majority. And a lot of that came from upstate New York. She's someone who brings people together, gets people to sort out their problems and create a compromise. And that sells really well in Colorado.
All right. So you believe she's going to win by how much?
I'm saying 6 or 7 points just because otherwise I'll have a hard time sleeping. I think that the shift has kind of gone back a little bit the other way, and I think she's beginning to make up a lot of that ground that was lost, and I think 6 or 7 points.
All right, so you're fairly comfortable that she takes Colorado. If she does not take it, and this is a hypothetical, I try to stay away from that, but we have to do this now. If Trump beats her in Colorado, upsets her, okay, would you think it would be because of the corruption, the foundation, the emails, all of that?
No, I don't think she's going to lose. Just like Governor McCrory was talking about the early voting. The early voting here has favored Democrats much more than Republicans. They're up about 4 or 5% compared to 2012 when President Obama won by 5 points. So I think there's a pretty good momentum. But if by some chance he were to win, I'm going to guess that somehow there was an unhappiness or dissatisfaction with the system that he talked to. That's the only thing I can understand that would really, get him a victory, here in Colorado. It's hard for me to imagine how that would happen.
All right. Governor, we really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you. I'd like you to come back. I want to talk about the marijuana deal after the election is over and, the balance of social problems versus revenue and things like that. So
It's an interesting issue.
It is. When we come right back, we'll take a look at the Pennsylvania vote, another crucial state for Donald Trump. Then we'll talk with Bernie Goldberg. Moments away. Continuing now with this Sunday evening election edition of The Factor. If Donald Trump wins Pennsylvania, hey, he might be president of the United States. Right now, the Harper poll has a tie in a Keystone state, but all in, polls have Hillary Clinton up by an average of 2.4% in the Commonwealth. Joining us now from Philadelphia, Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. Now, for people who don't know their geography, Delaware is a lot of it a suburb of Philadelphia, because it's a lot easier to live in Philadelphia than it is in some portions of Pennsylvania. So you know the turf, and I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Governor Hickenlooper. Why is it so close in Pennsylvania? It's historically, a Democratic-leaning state.
Well, Bill, Pennsylvania hasn't voted for a Republican candidate for president since 1988, and I don't think it's going to end up being close on Tuesday. I think what we're going to see on Election Day here is that the investment that the Clinton campaign has made in the ground game, the focus that they've brought to their campaign in planning and preparing for Election Day is going to ultimately produce a very strong turnout across the state of Pennsylvania.
If that's true,
and a win for Secretary Clinton.
If that's true, if minorities go out in Philadelphia in great numbers, rivaling Barack Obama, I think you're right. But you have to cede that it is a battleground state, Pennsylvania. I mean, Trump's got an event in Scranton where I started at Channel 16 up at WNEP TV. He's got an event there. It's been all over the state. Trump and Pence have been Pennsylvania. 2.4 is within the margin of error. So again, I'm going to ask you, what is it that's driving the Trump vote in the Keystone State?
Well, it was interesting to me to see Melania Trump here last week because there's real nervousness in the Trump campaign that they've lost the Republican women of the suburbs, the 4 collar counties that are the suburbs of Philadelphia, where Republicans typically come out in pretty high numbers. Melania was here in the state of Pennsylvania trying to connect with voters after a number of polls, a number of surveys showed that Donald Trump's offensive comments about women, his tape suggesting that he engaged in not just sexual harassment but actual assault and was bragging about it, was really hurting him. He was down by quite a bit a number of weeks ago, and I do think that that's produced some real momentum for Clinton across this state.
But it hasn't, again, shown in the polls. So, I mean, and I don't like the assault business because I think that is a word that has to be adjudicated in a court of law. But let's say that you're right. Let's say that women in Pennsylvania were initially put off, or still are put off, by Mr. Trump's lifestyle and his use of vernacular. Isn't it true that Hillary Clinton's problems with the FBI, with the foundation, countered that to some extent? Because if what you're saying were true, then he'd be behind by 10 points in Pennsylvania. I mean, Trump would be losing by 10, and he's not. It's a statistical tie. So I'm seeing a balance here. I'm saying, like, a lot of Pennsylvanians not really knowing what to do. You know, they go this way, they go that way. Now, you say you think this shifted back to Hillary Clinton. You got any data to back that up?
Well, what's striking to me, Bill, is that the most expensive Senate race in the whole country is Pat Toomey against Katie McGinty. There's been, I think, $130 million spent on that. We've also seen an absolute avalanche of ads by both the Clinton and Trump campaigns. The Clinton campaign ads predominantly featured Donald Trump himself saying outrageous or offensive or unsettling things, whereas the most Trump ads that we've seen recently have been rooted in falsehoods. Just today, FBI Director Comey cleared Secretary Clinton again of any issue related to these emails. And most of the attack ads that we've been seeing recently from Donald Trump suggest that there is some
but they've been
vast
negative ads,
conspiracy and that she's about to be charged with some crime, which is clearly not true.
She's not going to be charged with a crime in the foreseeable future, that's for sure. But they're both negative ads, right? Clinton ads are negative toward Trump. Trump ads are negative toward Clinton, rather than saying, you know, vote for me because I'm a good guy. And by the way, the Toomey McGinty race, another fascinating race. It's a tie.
Right. Very tough, very close race.
It's a tie. I mean, it's a, you know, Morning Call's got it, Toomey up by 1. Gravis has got McGinty up by 2. Those are the latest numbers that came in. So, you know, I really think that people are conflicted in Pennsylvania. It's going to be fascinating to see it. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I think what we're going to see here tomorrow night is a terrific, positive get-out-the-vote rally. As I think you know, Joe Biden, my predecessor in the Senate, native of Scranton, Pennsylvania, is one of the most effective campaigners and closers in American history. And I suspect we're going to see history repeat on Tuesday, where Pennsylvania will once again go Democrat, and that means there will not be a path to victory.
But you know what?
If
you see Biden, I want Biden and Trump. They were going to like not duke it out, weren't they? Those two guys. That'd be good. I mean, if we could have that on Monday night, I'll carry that live. You know, a little of this. All right, Senator, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bernie Goldberg on deck. Will he make a prediction? We'll find out when we come back. Back at the book segment tonight, the betting odds on the presidential race are 3-1 in favor of Secretary Clinton, but 2 weeks ago they were 8-1. Joining us from Miami, Bernie Goldberg. You know, I'm really glad I had you on here. Number one, you have lavish homes in both North Carolina and Florida. Does that mean you can vote in both states? Where?
Don't do this. That's against the law, and you know it.
I do, and I'm looking out for you because I don't want you to be tempted to break the law. So you vote in Florida, right? I'm sure you vote in Florida.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. I vote in Florida.
Okay. So now let's take North Carolina first. You know the state. You live in the mountains or the foothills or whatever. Gonna go for Trump or Clinton?
So you're asking me about Florida and North Carolina. There are 50 states, and you give me the two toughest
Those are
ones.
the ones you live in, Goldberg.
Yeah, but you could
live
have given
there.
me California and Alabama. I could give you those two. All right, Florida's going to be a toss-up. It's real close. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And I'd have to give a slight edge to Hillary Clinton in North Carolina. But would you like my overall prediction?
Well, wait. We have a little time with you, unfortunately, tonight. So we had a Spanish journalist, Hispanic journalist, Latina, on Friday, and she said that the Cubans in Dade, where you live, Dade County, are going to break for Trump because they don't like the Obama administration and the left.
I heard that, and I was very surprised.
If that
the older
happens.
Cubans, if that happens,
Yeah.
then he'll win Florida.
Yeah.
Because just as a general rule, and generalizations don't always work, the older Cubans who came here early on are conservative and they'll vote Republican. The younger ones, they're more Democratic. That's why Dade County and Miami usually goes Democratic.
Okay. So you think that Hillary Clinton has a slight edge in Florida. Why?
Just going by the polls?
Just the polls. Okay. Not any.
And there's a lot of influx of new Hispanics, Puerto Ricans in the middle of the state, and if the middle of the state goes, whichever way the middle of the state goes, and I think it'll go probably for Hillary, that's who that
Trump has
person will
spent a
carry
lot
the
of time
state.
on what they call the I-4 corridor between Orlando and Tampa.
Right,
He's like
it's
camped
close.
out there.
I'm saying it's close.
Okay.
Very close.
All right, then going to North Carolina, even the governor didn't know whether he was going to win or not. I mean, there's a lot of stuff floating around.
North Carolina isn't the North Carolina of years ago.
No.
I mean, North Carolina's, pretty sophisticated. He talked about the research triangle. You have a lot of college-educated liberal people. It's in a three college area.